Now that we've learned some important tools within the color correction process to correct individual shots, I'd like to talk about implementing shot-to-shot correction. Let me show you a finished sequence here. And as I skim across this, you can see that the shots have been corrected so that each shot individually looks good. And hopefully you also see that the shots within a scene look like they belong together. You should never correct in a vacuum. You want to make sure that everything looks like it belongs to the same color universe. There's one tool that can be really useful during this process, and that is Comparison View and Color Match. These features are found within the Color Wheels and Match category. And to perform a color match, you don't actually have to use these controls to begin with. You can use any color correction tools at all. But just so I can talk about the things happening during the comparison and color match process, I'm going to quickly introduce these color wheels to you. If you've watched the previous videos in this chapter, we'll be able to zip through this fairly quickly because the concepts are the same. I'm going to load my pre-match sequence. And here I have Esther making the bread, okay? And I'm going to come to this shot first. All right, and I want to make sure I can see the whole thing, and we want to bring up our scopes. So I'm going to come to the first shot here of the flour in the silver bowl and make a basic correction. I'm going to come to my shadows and bring them down. I'm looking in the Luma waveform to make sure that I'm measuring them correctly. Okay, and then I'm going to come to my highlights and bring them up, like so. Okay, and I'm also going to bring my midtones down just a little bit so I'm not quite so washed out. Then I'm going to look at my RGB Parade, and this tells me that I am low in my blues. So I'm going to come to my highlights and then drag towards blue. And I'm looking at the RGB Parade until that evens out. And I think I'm also going to drag towards blue in my midtones and a little bit in my shadows as well. Okay, you will notice that there is no saturation control within the Color Wheels and Match category. So I'm just going to go back to Curves and increase my saturation within that category. Okay, so this is my corrected shot. We've got before and after. And then I'm going to come to this next shot of the bowl. And let's use the corrections that we've already done to make the corrections here. So I'm going to come over to Comparison View. And the shot on the right is the shot that I'm correcting, and the shot on the left is the reference shot. You can change your reference shot by coming down here and choosing a different one, but we do in fact want this one as our reference shot. And once you've set that up, all you do is you click on Apply Match. Oh, I'm going to uncheck face detection since there's no face here. And then I click on Apply Match. All right, and it's corrected my shot, and it looks really similar to the one I've already corrected. Now, if you take a look at all of my video scopes, you'll see it's split down the middle, okay? So this is the shot on the left, and this is the shot on the right. I'm going to do a before and after, and I want you to look at both the image as well as the waveform here on the right in the Luma waveform, as well as the RGB Parade. So here's before, and here's after. So obviously it makes sense that the waveforms match up better. And then if you come down to our color wheels, you can see that it made very similar adjustments. It went down in the shadows, it went up in the highlights, and it went down slightly in the midtones. And all three color wheels are shifted towards blue. Again, one thing it did not do was adjust my saturation, so I can come back in and adjust that manually. I'm going to come to this shot here and do the same thing. So we'll come back to my Color Wheels and Match category. Again, you don't have to correct in here, but I'm just doing it to get us a little more exposure to more tools. Okay, so I'm going to take a look here in my Luma waveform and go down a little bit in my shadows and up in my highlights. By the way, if I just drag, it's finer movement. If I add shift to that, I have coarser movement, so I can do a little bit more. Okay, and up in my midtones as well. And I'd like to warm up her face. So I'm going to just shift drag up in my yellows and reds and oranges to warm that up. And it looks like I could stand to just raise my blues just a tiny bit in the highlights. And I like that, but I'm just going to increase my saturation a little bit within curves. Okay, so this is now my new reference image. So I'm going to move my reference image to that. And then I'm going to come to another shot of Esther. Okay, we have that lined up. This is the shot that we want to correct. This is the reference image. I'm going to apply match. All right, and it's made the correction. Here's the before and after. And then I have another one right here Apply match. All right, and that one worked out really well too. Here's the before and after on that. So I'm just going to play over this and let's see how all the shots look together within the same scene. I'll go ahead and take out comparison view and we'll play.
The motto always with the Barron family was small is beautiful, and when you're making something in a small way, it is always better quality than when something gets bigger and bigger and bigger and you lose quality for volume.
All right, I thought that was really nice. One thing I forgot to do was increase the saturation in these last two shots. I don't think it needs it too much, maybe just a tiny bit. So we'll just bump that up a little bit, and this one as well. Okay, so as you can see, this is a nice strategy to get started on matching shots. At the very least, it gets you close, so you can spend your time tweaking your shots rather than starting over from scratch with each and every correction. These are all great strategies for establishing proper shot-to-shot consistency within your scenes.